That was one click, bro. That literally was one click. Let me do it again. Knowing how to blend colors is a skill that all digital artists should have. We all know that. But today, I'm going to show you what I think is a game-changing tool for the job. Let's go to Photoshop. So first we're going to take a look of the different ways that I know of blending colors. And I know 3 of them. The first one is manual mixing, this one here. Basically, you pick one of the colors that you want to mix, and with a lower opacity in your brush, you paint and color pick from both colors at the same time and the color in between that you are obtaining, right? So we're going to do that. For the first try, we're going to use a kind of like a hard edge brush. So you see what I mean? So then you pick the color in the middle, then you pick a little bit from here, and then like this. You're color picking for in between the colors until you start losing those streaks. And as you can see, like with a hard brush, it's a little bit tricky to mix all of them. Like you get this more painterly look, but you see all these like streaks of colors, like lines, and creating so many divisions that when you zoom out, it looks like it's mixed. Like if we zoom out like this, it looks more or less mixed, right? You can still see a little bit, but it looks more or less mixed. But the better version of that is like if you take a soft brush, kind of like an airbrush when you're doing graffiti and stuff like that, and you do the same. You pick one of the colors, lower opacity, and then you see now you have like a soft edge on the mixer of between the colors, so it will be a little bit easier for you to mix the colors in between, right? So we do that. We pick one color from the one side and from the other side, and we're like, it's even way faster than using a hard edge brush, right? So we do this, and then you barely see any streaks in between, and you have like this soft gradient at the end. So that's the first method, is manual mixing, soft brush, pick one color from one side, painting the division in between the colors, and then repeat that process until you get like this kind of gradient. So that's the first one, and it's one of the ones that you are going to use the most, trust me on that one. Now in the second place we have the mixer brush, and the thing with the mixer brush is like it works really good for textures and stuff like that. Like if you want to apply some painterly looks, like traditional look to your painting, this is a really good one for that. So for example, I have this one. This is a hair brush that I have for the mixer brush. And if I use it in between the colors, you can see how it's like dragging the pixels and giving this like nice texture in between. So yeah, this is like the number one tool for this type of stuff is the mixer brush. It's technically mixing pixels, but it's not the most efficient for like blending colors itself. Like you could use it for that if you pick soft brush like this one, and you can see how it's mixing it, but it only works when the layer is on the same layer, like when you only have it in the same layer. And the second one is like the second thing is that it only works with smaller sizes brush with the soft round brush, because if you make it bigger, you'll start getting like these artifacts because of the spacing of the brush and all the things in between, right? So it kind of works, but you have to use it wisely. But for blending colors, you have to change it to a soft round brush like we did in the beginning. And then what you want to do is like you drag one of the pixels and then move back and forwards, back and forward, back and forward, like make a bigger brush. It works even better if you do that, like this. And then you see like you have kind of like a gradient already. Even better than the one that we did manually, right? It's like even smoother and stuff like that. So that's the way you will use the mixer brush for this. And lastly, the one that you all have been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, the smudge tool. Now the smudge tool have 2 different uses in my opinion. The first one is dragging pixels around, and the second one is mixing pixels. I'll show you both of them just quickly so you get an idea. The problem is that in the internet, when you look for how to blend with the smudge tool, what they show you is you pick this one here, which is like a dragging pixels. Like if you see, it's doing more or less the same like the mixer brush, but it's not that efficient for like mixing around like the mixer brush. Even if you like put the strength into 50%, for mixing with this, you have to like go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's like really slow. as you can see, and the middle line here is like it's not like a gradient that we can make with the mixer brush or with manually. It's something weird. So I'll use this one, for example, if I have some, let's say if we have something here that we want to move around, like let's say I want to create kind of like a strand of hair with back the strands. I want to create like these shapes, like moving around pixels basically. You can even liquefy it with this tool if you like. But for mixing, you want to use a different property from the smudge tool that it looks like this. That was one click, bro. That literally was one click. Let me do it again. For those who have a keen eye, you probably noticed already what the difference is, but still I'm going to explain you. The difference between these two smudge tools that I already use here is basically scattering. Scattering is when you go to the properties of the tool, you get this like effect here. Without scattering, it's basically a normal brush. It's just like the stamp going around in a straight line, or you know, in the direction of the stroke. But when you add scattering, what it does is like it disperses around the stamps of your brush, right? Like all the pictures that made the stroke. So it's kind of like making a particle brush, but what you want to do is like you want to keep this like really low. I don't know, like 20%, 50%, something like that. Like I have it in 44% right now. And that's how it's easy as that. You just have like a soft round brush, and then you apply some scattering on it, and you got this tool, this smudge tool right here, which is gold. And one of the things that I really like from this one is like, since it's a tool, it's not a brush itself. If you save the brush as a tool here with a preset of a smudge tool, when you're drawing, you can be using like this brush, for example. I could be doing something like this. Like let's say I make this stroke here. I want to make this side here smooth, right? So I'm with a brush now. I just press V. That's my shortcut for like the finger tool. And then I just smooth basically. And that's it. Like that's how easy it is. And then I can go back to my brush, and then I can keep going with my drawing stuff. And every time that I have to switch to my tool, I just press V, and then I just smudge around, and smudging. Like that's why I like this tool more than the other ones, because it's like that quick step that you can use like for smudging, and it's really nice for that. Like it's really efficient in my opinion. Quick note here before we go further. I did upload the PSD with all this information and notes that I'm taking about like smudging and all the tools, all the things that you're seeing now in the screen. I uploaded on my Gumroad. It's available for free. You can take a sneak peek there. And also I uploaded the time lapse with how I did apply all this stuff in a real life situation with this model here. So if you are interested, I'll link the link below. Back to the video. So now you know how the tool works, but how do you use it? So for that, we need to talk about a different subject, and it's called edges. To put it simple, it's a property of the light that it tells you how soft or how hard the division in between two colors or values it should be. And for that, I like to divide edges into two types. The ones that show you how a plane or a form is turning away from the light, and the one that is showing you the cast shadow, the projection of a shadow from one object onto the other. So basically in this picture, we have the two types of edges. It's like this one will be a soft edge because it's showing us how the form is turning away from the light, as you can see here, right? And then we have the second one, which is the projection of the shadow, right? So this one here will be the projection of the nose. We have the light coming in this way, like this, and this will be the shadow of the nose projecting on the rest of it, on top of the face, on the cheek of the face, right? And as you can see, if I turn off this, like the one that is showing us form is way softer compared to the one that is showing us the projection of the shadow of the nose on top of the face. Like this is way sharper than this here, right? So those are the two different type of edges. And if I want to, for example, if I'll try to exaggerate those things that we're seeing now, and we do, like if I keep diffusing this, at some point it will look wrong, right? But if I do that, it still looks kind of accurate. But if I do the opposite and I try to, let's say, smudge or blend the shadow that is projecting on top of the face, it will look weird. It will start looking smudgy and muddy. It will start looking muddy, right? It doesn't look that good anymore because it's too soft. And that's a beginner mistake. That's a mistake that everyone do when it's the beginning of their journey. It's like we use this soft brush for everything, and then we don't have edges anymore. Like we lost that information there. Like everything is like really muddy and it doesn't have any shape, right? So the number one rule that I have for this, basically you soft the shadows that are turning away from light, and the projections are always sharp, with one exception that I'm going to show you later. So if we do the same here, like for example this arm here, let's do a little bit more of a curve so we can see more of those shadows. We can see those shadows more clearly with the midtones. So here we have basically the same. Like if we look around, we have soft edges in the places where the form is turning away from the light, like these things here. This is a round shape, so it's turning away from the light like this, gradually, not like a sudden change. And then we have, for example, here, like the light is coming in this direction, and here you have like the shadow, the projection of this bump here, this muscle here on top of the other muscle. That's why you have like this hard edge here on this side, right? But on the other side you have like this soft edge because it's turning away from the light. So basically that's how you use it. Like every time casting shadow, projection, division, then you have like hard edge, then versus soft edge. Soft edge here, and then you don't have a hard edge on the other side because it's not projecting on anything. And this one, for example, this is not a direct light completely, but then you have like soft edge, shadow projecting on the other one, hard edge, like this. So that's a basic rule that I want you guys to learn and to get in your mind. So if we have a sphere, for example, here with the light coming in this direction, we can see then that the soft edge will be on the curvature of the sphere, like here. And then we have like the projection of the sphere on top on the floor. And the exception that I was talking about, this example here that I have, is considering sunlight, but in the example that I'm going to show you, we have both of them. Like we have here some geometric shapes that are lighted by a soft light, like a studio light, something like that, like one of the ones that I have, like this one that I have here, for example. And the problem with this one is like the projection of the shadow will depend, like how hard or how soft is the shadow, will depend on how strong or how soft is the light that is projecting that shadow, or how far away is that light that is projecting that shadow. Basically how strong that light is and how close it is to the object. So if we take this one, for example, it's a studio light, it's like not that a strong light. We have these parts here that are like harder. The shadow of the sphere that is projecting on top of the cube is sharper compared to the one that is projecting on the floor because the light is not that strong. But if we take the same example to a sunlight situation, we can clearly see that since the sun is a really strong light source, like the projection of the shadow is completely sharp because it's far away and it's like a really strong light source. Like you can recreate this second sample with a studio light, but you will have to have the object closer to the ground, or the studio light will have to be really strong, so you have like this short, sharp shadow. In the face, for example, it's really sharp because the distance from the nose to the face is not that far away, but you can see, because of the light is not like sunlight, you can see that the edges here are getting a little bit softer on this side of the shadow of the nose, because it's further away from the face at that point. Like this distance is this distance here in between these 2 points is longer than this one and this one. So that's basically it. That's the section of a rule. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how can you apply this into a real life example, right? And I went ahead and I did this one here. Like this is old drawing that I did from 2023 on October. And I did like this was the before. This is the before this is the before of applying the edges and all the knowledge that I'm sharing with you here. And this is the after. Like you can see how everything looks more smooth. It looks more like 3D. You can see the shape of the objects like turning into space and stuff like that, right? So what I'm going to point you out is like basically what I did. I took all these edges here, or these parts of the drawing that have a soft edge and a hard edge, and I just got, if you see here, like this is kind of a lost soft edge of both sides of the drawing, so it's not indicating that much of a like 3D shape. So what I did was basically I took this is the before, this is the after. I took the shadow, I make a lasso thing like this, and let's say I'll take the shape of the chest here. You can also do it with the brush normally. You don't have to use the lasso tool necessarily. So what I did was I took this part and then I took my brush. I just pick the color, do the whole thing with a sharp edge. And then I just smudge it all, like smudge everything up with the round brush on the side that is indicating the form, and the side that is like indicating a projected shadow from the object that is on top. I will leave it like that. So this edge of the form of the pegs turning away from the light goes smooth, and the part that is like with a hard, like the part that is casting the shadow of the peg on top of the other muscles, the rib cage and stuff like that, it goes sharp. And that's basically what I did in this phase. So as you can see, that's the before and after, and I kept doing that over and over again in all the parts that I saw it was like more or less necessary. So like here, for example, it will be like this part here is more soft, but the part that is casting the shoulder is casting shadow from on the biceps is sharp, like that. So also here, like this is a sharp edge because it's like a shadow casting from the top of the head, but all the parts of the face that are indicating are indicating turning of the shape of the face goes more smooth. Like here in the nose, for example, the face is casting shadow on the nose, but that beacon of light have two faces, like the shadow shape that goes, the projected shadow or projected light in this case goes sharp, and the one that is turning away from the light goes softer, like that. And that gives it like a really 3D sense basically, so everything looks more 3D. Even if you are going to apply it in different light sources scenarios, like the rim light here, it's the same. The rim light, the hard edge will be the silhouette of the person because you don't see the other part. But then to the part that is like the rim light, you know, the form is changing plane, like that form is turning away from the rim light, then you just made a soft edge like this one. It's a soft edge compared to the one of the right side of the image, right? And that's what I did basically. That's what I did in the whole part of the upper body. I didn't touch the lower body or the textile part of the body or the hair because it will be just like redoing the whole illustration, and I didn't want to do that. So this is the before and after. No, again, before, after, before, after, before, after. So yeah, I hope that's really useful for you guys. That's one of the things that I learned in the last couple of weeks of how to use the smudge tool and how to control edges, at least in this stage. Then we probably have to add materials and other stuff, but I need to learn that first before I can teach it to you guys. If you have questions about this, you can always ask in the comments. And if you want to check more of my videos, I'll leave you this one here, which I think will be also really helpful for you guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.